I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, a podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Ha-ha!
We did it. We did
Back
the thing.
at it again.
We are. My life has been a nightmare since the last time we recorded, but
Yeah.
I won't bore our listeners with it. If you've been following me on Twitter at all, you know that I'm displaced due to a fire. So I'm now recording from the local Marriott by the Brooklyn Bridge. So if the sound is a little different for me, that's why. But hopefully you won't even notice.
Yeah.
But that said, I want to move right along into our guest because I'm really excited because he's amazing.
Yeah.
Our guest today is Brian, a.k.a. Urban Bohemian, streamer extraordinaire. Brian, thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome. Very happy to be here.
So excited to have you on. Thank you for taking the time out of what I'm sure is a very busy, moving schedule, you know, with all the outdoor activities that I'm sure everyone's doing right now because COVID's over. And isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's over?
Yeah, it ended.
this
That's what the
point?
world said, right?
Yeah?
no,
it's over.
I
It's done, right? We're all at the raves now.
So you're not playing this until 2022,
Right,
Is
exactly.
that what I understand? Okay, I got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Wear your masks, everyone, please. Thank you.
Please, for the love of God. I first met Brian way back at MagFest, not this past January, but a January before that, and that feels like 30 years ago at this point, thanks to COVID.
It really does, yeah.
But I fell in love with Brian's work then. I met him and Cypher of Tyr and a bunch of other a bunch of incredible streamers who re-inspired me to start streaming. And Brian and I have known each other now through Cypher's Sphere for a little while and her incredible community. And so I've been wanting to have you on this show for a while because you're one of my inspirations for streaming. And, you know.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You're also a delightful human who is very funny.
I try.
No pressure, though, of course.
No, none at all, right? Yeah.
Right. And we're going to get more into your streaming and stuff, but first we will do what we always do, which is talk about the most recent things we've watched. And I've got to tell you, folks, during this time of time displacement, especially mine specifically, because the last 3 weeks have felt like forever, I, for the life of me, couldn't remember what I watched besides like what I watched yesterday. But I did finally come around to it. So just because everything blurs together, I feel like I've watched everything and nothing all the time these days. But I do want to we have been giving some like special shout outs to shows we haven't finished. We've been instituting for TV series this new role that we don't talk about a TV series until we've completed it, whether it's, you know, a bajillion seasons of a long-running show or just 2 seasons of a show that's current. So while I'm currently watching Space Force, I haven't finished it. And
I would like to take this opportunity to name this rule the Game of Thrones rule because that show was great and then it sucked really bad at the end. We could also call it the Battlestar Galactica rule.
Ouch.
oof.
Oh,
Woof.
wow. That's rough. Wow.
That hurts.
Wow, too soon? Too soon.
I guess the
for
subtext
Battlestar Galactica.
is the subtext here: never get your hopes up ever.
Never,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
no. I think establishing a piece or at least a full season really rounds out the discussion of it.
Yeah. But that's
Ooh, I didn't know we had some Battlestar Galactica stands in here. Woof.
But that said, we did start watching Space Force because I needed to laugh at something related to our government at this point, and I heard good things, and it is very funny. Steve Carell is always great, and I love Ben Schwartz, who plays this ridiculous social media manager in it. It's just got a really tight cast. Also, I'll watch John Malkovich do literally anything. He is just a delight. But that said, I haven't finished it yet, and so we're going to talk about the series I did finish. Sarah and I were latecomers to a little show called The Umbrella Academy. That was a huge hit in its first season, and we watched 2 episodes, or like an episode and a half, and went, nah. And then with this new season coming out, and people getting really excited about it, like people I respect and like, I was like, I guess we should give it another shot. And so we did, and we fell in love with it, and we binged the crap out of it straight into season 2. And it was a delight. I am a fan of Gerard Way, who is the creator of the comics and is, of course, from My Chemical Romance, who is a band very close to my heart and my teenage drama years. But that said, I hadn't read the graphic novel before seeing the show, but I still loved the show just the same. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The visuals are phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal. I had a blast from start to finish. Have either of you seen The Umbrella Academy?
I have watched a few episodes of the first season. We started them with my partner's parents, actually, the last time we went to visit before the world broke. And we were like, oh, this is a pretty good show. We'll keep watching it. And then we didn't.
That's pretty much that.
And then, and honestly, and then Doom Patrol happened, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
This one's it, Chief.
No, I'd read the comics before, and which is always my bad, is that I'm a comic nerd. So anytime there's an adaptation coming out, I will have almost always read the comics first. But we did watch, my friend and I watched, I think about halfway or a little more than halfway through the first season. So I know like the big finale that's coming, but I don't know how they're going to do it on the show. So I am excited to catch back up with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I speaking of Doom Patrol, though, the only reason I'm not talking about that is because I still haven't finished the second season. I'm about halfway through, and I love it. So that's a show that Rachel brought up on this show, and she's like, you have to watch Doom Patrol, Matt. All I'm going to say is Danny the Street. And lo and behold, when I got to the Danny the Street episode, I fell in love.
Okay, now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because, again, I've read those books, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Danny the Street is officially my favorite DC character ever.
Sorry. Good taste.
Sorry,
good choice.
Aquaman. You've been dethroned.
Ouch.
Woof. The TV show is brilliant. The casting is incredibly diverse and well done, and it addresses sexuality, queerness, lifestyle, and all of that kind of stuff in a way that no other show, let alone superhero show, has. And I won't ruin it, but the Danny the Street episode is easily one of the best moments of TV in history. It was so good, music-wise, how it was shot, how it handles, non-binary and queerness and all of that stuff. It's really great, and so I highly recommend it. But that said, I haven't finished it, so my show is The Umbrella Academy, and I think what I love about The Umbrella Academy, and since Brian, you've read the comics, you'll be familiar with it. Like number 5 in the TV show version, because you guys have watched some of it, the young boy who time traveled and then comes back. The actor who plays him is Aiden something. I'm blanking on the name. I'll have to look it up. He is so good at playing a young old man, especially by the time you get to season 2. Like, I haven't seen that since Matt Smith was the Doctor. And even though Matt Smith isn't my favorite Doctor, what I loved about him is he was a crotchety, joyful old man in like a 23-year-old's body. And I love watching the actor as 5 wander around this set as like a crotchety old man who's killed 1 million people, but he looks like he's 12. It's really great. It adds so much personality.
Yeah. I will say I completely agree on where I got to in the series. The love affair that he has with a certain entity in the future just feels like this long, passionate affair, and it's just like this is going to pay off in an incredible way. I already know it, and the moment it did, I don't want to spoil it, I was like, this was better than even I could have expected. I knew it was going to be something real strange, and it was. Oh, chef's kiss. Oh, just good comedy right there.
It's really good. And also, I love how diverse the cast is. First of all, Cha-Cha and Hazel in the show. I can't remember the actor who plays Hazel, but Cha-Cha is played by Mary J. Blige. And she is so, and I've always loved her music for ages and ages, but she's such a good actress. And she's also playing the straight woman to a comical situation, but both of them are really playing it so straight in these ludicrous situations, and they're so good at it. And like, there's a scene in the show, I don't think it's a big spoiler, where they get high and shoot up a lab, and it's done so well. It's done so well. Like Mary J. Blige choose the scenery in the best way, and I love actors like that, especially since I've read a little bit of the comic, but not a lot. But the characters are not incredibly diverse in the comics, and so for the casting of the characters in the show, to cast a black woman for one of the kids, and to cast Hispanic guy as another one of the kids, like to diversify it when they're not that diverse in the comic, I think is a brilliant idea, and of course we need more of. And I think that, even in the smaller roles, like Hazel has a love affair with a donut shop lady, and is played by like a 60, I think she's a 60-year-old actress, or maybe a 50-year-old actress. But like, to have older women, older men, younger men, a diverse people across all spectrum. Like I haven't seen, besides Doom Patrol, I haven't seen a comic book show like that, and that, like, it felt more real than a lot of other comic book that is very white, like comic books were back in the day.
Hey,
being
comic
able to avoid
books.
that now.
Hey,
Stop it.
comic books? Stop it. You so white?
Yeah.
Stop it. Seriously.
Yeah, no, I definitely can relate. I get it. I love that they had more freedom with the shows being done on these networks, because they weren't like the main networks, or they just chose properties that weren't super, like, nobody had a super attachment to them, that they knew they could do this and they would not get this massive fan outcry of, oh my goodness, what did you do? Because the show is good, so who cares?
Yeah, and like, it's clear, I've seen interviews with, I think his name is Steve Blackman, is the showrunner. It's clearly a love letter to the comics. Like, he clearly loves the comics and has worked closely with Gerard and the other creators. And also, like, the soundtrack in both season 1 and season 2, it's clear that a musician who created this comic clearly advised on the soundtracks, because, like, the needle drops, when they happen, are all so good, and it's very easy to have cheesy needle drops time and time again. I'm looking at you, DC. Look, I love the DC universe, but, a lot of it, but like the needle drops. I will say the needle drops, though, in Harley Quinn were great. They were great. I love.
Oh yeah,
those.
the cartoon.
Agreed.
Yeah, very. Oh wait, the movie or the cartoon?
Well, both.
I mean,
but I meant
both,
the
yeah,
actually.
both. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I just wanted to check.
So I think that for both of you, I mean, I imagine Brian's going to watch it at some point since he's a fan of the comic. But for you, Rachel, I would pitch heavily to go back to it. Because it's a worthwhile ride, and again, Sarah and I were the same way. We jumped off after the first couple episodes, but when we went back to it and finally started to see the momentum of what was happening, especially with one of the kids, like, and how that all plays out, it really did open up the whole world, and I think it's a worthwhile watch.
I mean, I do need something to fill the void in my heart that Doom Patrol has left after ending 3rd season. So
yeah,
I'll probably get back to it. I need a new show. It's just, I tried to get back to it where I left off, and I just had a moment where I was like, I don't even remember what any of these characters were like, because it had been so long. I was like, oh right, this one talks to dead people, and oh gosh, so I have to go back to episode 1, and I'm fine with that because it was fun from there. It's just going backwards in a time where it's like there's so much TV, there's so many movies, it's hard. But it is, I do not think that your pulpit speech about this is falling on deaf ears. It is not. I trust it's forever on my growing list.
Well, also I would say if you love Doom Patrol, you'll love the rest of Umbrella Academy and the second season, because like Klaus, the what they do with Klaus is so brilliantly done, and he's such a good character, and the actor playing him. But like, that is another character who gets to explore queerness in a way that just feels natural. It doesn't feel like it's a forced storyline or it's cliche, and I loved that too. It just was. So it gets a big recommendation from me. I guess this is the point now where I have to sum up Umbrella Academy in 3 words, a 3-word review.
But you cannot use Umbrella or Academy.
Or the.
Sorry. Or I mean the. Why would you waste your beautiful 3 words
on the.
On a the.
Time travel shenanigans.
Time travel shenanigans. I like it.
Yeah, Umbrella Academy, Chef's Kiss. I think any show that has a good soundtrack, I'm a sucker for. Like, it's why I like Doom Patrol so much also.
Yeah.
And I also discovered that Matt Bomer could sing, which I had no idea because he sings in the first season, and he's
So good.
I was screaming on Twitter. It must have been 3 or 4 weeks ago. People Like Us, he sings it in that show. And like, I hadn't heard the Kelly Clarkson version, which I then discovered. And as a queer man who loves bops, like, that song it spoke to me on such a level.
Can we just talk about what an underrated treasure People Like Us is? Because it is literally Kelly Clarkson going, I could do Lady Gaga. It's great. It's great. It's just like, Gaga, you have Born This Way, Hold My Beverage, People Like Us. Let's go. Like, the fact that it starts with like that kind of whispered, like
the talking bit.
Yeah. It's like,
It's very good.
It is. I love it. It's like the cola soda of Born This Way, and I am very much here for it.
Wow. Okay.
The RC Cola of Lady Gaga bops.
Woof.
Hey, don't knock it. RC Cola is amazing.
Okay.
It is delicious.
But this is not a podcast about People Like Us or RC Cola. It is a podcast about TV and movies. So, Rachel, segue, super smooth. You love that,
I'm so
right?
sorry.
Fun?
I'm sorry. We're on the wrong podcast. We're my garbage.
Well, your garbage kind of goes everywhere, and that's why we love you.
It's true. It's just all over the place.
Rachel, what is the most recent thing that you have watched that you are going to talk about?
The most recent thing that I have watched is really cool and great and stuff, but I would like to take a moment and say that at our original date that we were going to record this, what I was going to bring and is going to be my casual recommend was The Owl House.
Oh, yes,
which
I'd
is
heard
a
about
new Disney animated series. And it is incredible. If you've been anywhere near my Twitter, you will have seen that I want to grow up to be Ida the Owl Lady, in the most major way. Because, I mean, come on, she's an anarchist witch.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you. I will take it. It's so fun and incredible, and it does diversity without feeling like it is pandering in a way. Like, I think the fact that they're able to get to canonically queer characters within its first season is such a milestone. I won't give away who they are. You should just definitely check it out.
Okay.
And it's really funny to watch this like magical world where the kids go to magical school, just constantly take the piss out of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter.
Yes.
It is
Excellent.
beautiful.
Nice.
So like, if you know that J.K. Rowling is a TERF, you're gonna love this show. if you enjoyed Gravity Falls, you're going to love this show. If you like Steven Universe, you're going to love this show. There's
I'm
just
sold. Okay.
so many
Done.
many spiritual successors to this show. Like, they all walked so this one could run,
Cool.
and run this one does.
Excellent.
That's not even what I brought. So
That's just the pre-pitch.
that's just hey, let's step into Rachel's recommendation corner. Let's go. I love it. It's I can't. I love it. Anyway, but what I did bring, in true my bullshit fashion, another animated piece that has done its season 3 finale, and that is Infinity Train.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen Infinity Train yet. I've heard good things.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I've been following Infinity Train from its first season, and I think it is one of the most fascinating animated pieces that exist. And please, like, if you haven't watched it and you have HBO Max, like, drop everything, go watch it. It is so short, so sweet, and worth every single second. So, not to get too, like, detaily or spoilery, but what's really cool about it is the premise is a child named Tulip gets sucked into this train with infinite cars and has a mysterious number on her palm that like shifts a bunch, and you sort of follow her as she meets these other denizens on the train, figures out the mystery. But what's really cool is they wrap up this story about this one character, and then a character you met in Tulip's story becomes the main character in the next season.
Wow.
And then a character that you meet in that season becomes the main character of the third season.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it is doing this kind of like infinity train, even in the way that it is presenting its stories. So the third season involves a group of sort of misfit children that have decided that they want to stay on the train and cause a ruckus, and they're just, you know, they're like the Warriors, or like bike gang children. And it follows the two leaders of this gang discovering more about the train, as you are also discovering more about the train. And it ends in the most buck wild way imaginable. I cannot, like, I know that they've done some crazy stuff with this property so far, you know, just like going dark and living there and being fine with it. But this season, the most dark. And I'm so glad that animation is leaning into the darkness again, because I grew up on that, you know, like that spooky animation that like sticks with you. That's just like, ooh, like that tiny dose of like the reality of existence, you know, that there is a darkness, and sometimes that's just the way it is, you know. And I'm so glad that is returning into animation, not just because I think that it is important for children to safely come in contact with that, but also that it proves animation can be a medium for all ages, you know. I think that dealing in the darkness and dealing in the adult is so valuable and so good to put in animation, because it has been pigeonholed as this like fluffy kiddie thing for so long. Infinity Train. If I can sell you on this, Ernie Hudson voices a corgi.
Ooh, I'm sold.
Okay, okay, there we go. That's it. We're good.
The king of the corgis from the Corgi Car.
That's really great.
Yeah, so
cool. Is season 3 the final season? Or,
no,
okay,
I think there's going to be more, because
cool.
we've kind of there's a door that's left open with one of the characters that we've met, and it seems like we're maybe going to follow them in season 4. Cool. And also the creator has come forward in interviews and sort of talked about like, we've got plans for season 4, but it's kind of up in the air because, you know, this is a show that's kind of lived in production hell, because it started on Cartoon Network, wasn't going to get renewed after season 2, got picked up by HBO Max for season 3, and it's just like, it's a difficult one logistically. So I would recommend it highly to give it some attention. Please do that so I can have season 4. Thank you. That's all I want. To do that for me.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, you mentioned all other shows that I love, both with Owl House and with this. I mean, like She-Ra and Steven Universe and Gravity Falls have all been so impactful. And I think with Owl House specifically, Alex Hirsch tweeted about it, and so that's what put it on my radar, because I follow the creator of Gravity Falls. Also, a little secret I can share here, though it's not going to air before this, I got to interview Jason Ritter for Autographs, my other podcast. And so we got to talk about Gravity Falls and the hype behind it and all of that stuff. And he's a delightful, sweet human. And so,
I'm sure.
And so I've had a lot of animation on my mind, because we had a long conversation about his love of animation. And so, I mean, you've sold me. I'm in. Infinity Train, let's do it.
So good. Both of them are so good in very different ways. You know, like one is like yucky because it's like the magic world building of the other realm of the Owl House is a lot more close to what I know like magic to be. Kind of this like wild force, this kind of untamed entity, and it's interesting to watch the politic of the Owl House in dealing with that, like the idea that witches were doing magic wrong, but now this emperor has come and now all the witches do it correctly by joining covens. It's great. I cannot, like, I thought that Steven Universe was made for me, and then I watched The Owl House and I was like, oh, thank you. You did realize that I am a witch. Thank you. You've made this one. This one is actually for me. It's so
Awesome.
good. So good. The voice cast is brilliant. The animation is so fun. The world is so weird and wacky and kind of gross and scary in a beautiful way. And then you've got Infinity Train, which is like dark,
Look.
dreadful, wonderful, adult. I love them. I love them both. I think they're two great sides of animation, you know.
I was gonna say it would be my co-host to break our own rule and bring two shows on, because you've pretty much talked about two shows today.
I did. I'm sorry.
It's
I
fine.
just really love the Owl House,
Yeah, it's
and
okay.
like legally for our podcast, the Infinity Train is the last thing I watched, and I was like, oh, then I'm just gonna think about the final moments of this last season and just be like, holy shit, fuck, what happened? Like, that's how Infinity Train ended this time, to a place where I was screaming.
Wow.
Screaming.
To wrap up the segment and not it go on like an Infinity Train forever.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Killing it with the segues today.
Nope.
Can you sum up Infinity Train in 3 words as your review without using the words infinity or train?
I can, but I feel like it is a review completely dedicated to the moment where I screamed.
Okay.
Because it is the most on my mind. Holy fucking shit. I
Okay.
can't. That's
Okay.
it. Like,
All right.
there you go. I'm not kidding.
Usually our reviews are not expletives, but this one was. No, it's fine.
Listen, anyone who is listening to this and has watched the finale of season 3 of Infinity Train knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I mean, it says nothing but says so much.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Alrighty. Well, now shifting gears to our guests. So, Brian, what have you brought us to discuss? What is the most recent thing you have watched?
Interestingly enough, it's breaking the rule, because like when we first talked, I had a show, but more recently I have been watching Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, I haven't
And
seen it yet.
Good.
Yes.
It's so I like it.
It is now becoming a thing of mine to get Star Trek content into everything I do, because I am a huge nerd.
You're in the right place.
But I would say Star Trek Lower Decks is only 4 episodes in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
okay. You've watched all of them?
But when we were originally talking, I'll just say, like, if you love Star Trek and you like jokes, watch Star Trek Lower Decks. When we first started talking, I had just finished watching Motherland Fort Salem on Freeform, one of Disney's mid-teen to mid-20 audience-themed networks. Motherland Fort Salem, it takes place in an alternate history in the U.S. where when witches were discovered in Salem, one of them cut a deal with the U.S. government and therefore said, okay, from now on, all witches will fight for the U.S. military.
Whoa.
And that's like the start of this alternate history. So it's cinematically, it's gorgeous. It has an amazing use of color. The story is just fantastic. The main story follows 3 new recruits to Fort Salem, which is where is essentially the military school for witches. They have an amazing view of witchcraft. A lot of the magic that they do is sound based. They do it with their voices.
Oh, wow.
It's about the harmonics. Every squad of witches is a team of 3 witches. And there is of course teen drama. It is extremely matriarchal. That is the main thing. Like there are men who have magic, but it is mainly a matriarchy. The president is a woman, played by Cheryl Lee Ralph.
Oh, cool.
Who is freaking amazing.
That's awesome.
And of course, it's also a Disney network, so there are mysteries and secrets. There are teen angst. There is of course lesbian drama, and lesbian love, and it is all in your face with it. Like, do you have a problem with this? Then you're watching the wrong show.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating thing. I started watching it with a friend, and we ended up doing the Zoom call and watching every episode together. And it was just such a unique take on a magical world if you were to bring that into the modern era. And there were touches that we noticed. Like, we started looking for things because they clearly based the history and the current era in, okay, what if you had magic? What kind of equipment would you not have? And we were like, they don't have computers. They don't have like, like they have like cars. That seems to be like the top, or they have TV and radio. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you? You know, magic is real. You know, magic is a thing. Why would these technologies be developed? If you want to talk to somebody across a distance, you like a witch whispers it into the wind. And like, if you want to scry something, a witch has a huge crystal on the wall that she that she focuses on and sees at a distance. It's kind of fascinating. It follows these three women who all have different reasons for joining the military. One feels it's her duty. One, it's sort of her family thing, and another, her mother was in the service and is gone, and she's like trying to find out what that was all about. And there is also a threat, like there is a terrorist threat. And the really interesting about the threat is they sort of want to take down the military as like the military industrial complex. So you're not 100% sure if you don't sympathize with them, because they're kind of like, the army sucks and the army has deluded the America into thinking that you need it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now I don't know who to root for. And it also has, like their version of The Hague is essentially a council of witches from a bunch of other countries. So, and from what we've been told, though it's only one season in, and who knows when we'll have a new season, that witchcraft works differently in other countries. So while in America, the witches apparently use voices and sounds and kind of harmonies, other nations may use different forms of witchcraft. It is remarkably diverse. It does not shy away from, there are specializations of magic, and, one of those is necromancy. It doesn't shy away from a lot of issues. It moves together very quickly, and it does a good job of weaving the entire story arc narrative over the seasons. Like, you can have an individual snippet, but every episode is not going to leave out that long running thread throughout the season. And it ends on a massive cliffhanger, which sucked so bad, because we're watching this and I'm immediately furiously like going to the internet, like, okay, have we talked about, is there an,
is there gonna be
I need
more?
more of this show.
Is there gonna be more? Please more. Thank you.
And we were watching this back when the pandemic was really starting to hit, and we were realizing that people were not going to be doing any more in-person work for a while. So it's kind of sad. I've basically put up alerts for it so that I might see when it's coming back, but it's an amazing show. If you, if you enjoy alternate histories, if you enjoy conspiracies, if you essentially like different ways of looking at witchcraft and magic and how society would develop, knowing it's an actual thing that is not hated, but in fact revered, I would say Motherland Fort Salem it's your thing.
I'm incredibly interested. Hello, speaking to a new practicing witch here.
Excellent.
That sounds so interesting. Because like I've been slowly learning about like demonology and necromancy through a more magical lens, and I think it's really interesting that media and pop culture is kind of leaning into the witch in a really cool way. Like, I feel like we were really getting to a point where we're playing with those ideas and stuff, and the idea that different regions of witches have different ways of accessing their power is very similar to our reality. Like I as a white person am obviously not going to practice any like voodoo or Eastern magic, but like I have a history of like my ancestors are Irish and German and like that sort of like Celtic idea. So like I'll light a candle to like Bridget during Imbolc or something, and like just seeing different ways that magical thinking and accessing that inner life, that inner spark can be can be utilized. I like you've sold me on this show.
Well, I will say one of the standing mysteries which is touched upon but not really explored is that there are very clearly multiple traditions even inside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Although Fort Salem really only teaches one, but they're aware of others, and the students almost look down on it just because it's not familiar or it's been given a bad rep. So even within the U.S., there are other practices. The only thing that we didn't really see is we didn't necessarily see any American Indian characters or discuss American Indian traditions in the show. But there's also a huge part of the map that's called the session, like the secession. So there's a massive part of the map where we're like, okay, we think that's actually where all the American Indians just got to keep their stuff. So they're like, yeah, that's a white person problem. We're fine.
Yeah. Speaking of which, if I may pause just for a second and reach out to any of my magical practitioners, just so you know, if you weren't aware, white sage is deeply over-harvested and an incredibly sacred item for native peoples. If you like to smoke cleanse, not smudge, because smudging is also very sacred to native peoples of the Americas. We can smoke cleanse, and may I recommend cedar. It is a non-regional herb. Burns beautifully. Also, anti-pest. So do some double duty with that. Maybe remove white sage from your cleansing rituals if you do not have native heritage. This is a PSA brought to you by your neighborhood witch podcaster. What's up?
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that all sounds really interesting. It's funny when you're describing it, Brian. The first place my mind goes for those kinds of shows is like the CW. Like I watched all of those shows, like Riverdale, and but it sounds like it's not quite that teen drama-y. It sounds like it's a little bit more detailed in drama than that, like just in suspense and drama.
It feels like it could be a CW show on the surface, but it's. I would say the writing is more complex. Like they don't go for the obvious dramatic moments, though there are some things you can see coming.
Right.
But I've been watching TV for far longer than I'm willing to admit, and this show surprised the heck out of me in a lot of places. So it was like a comfort to be like, oh,
awesome.
Wait, they didn't do that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, my favorite shows do that. Like the reason I'm still a Doctor Who fan, the reason I loved Umbrella Academy is because like the smart writing that bobs and weaves and you don't know where it's going to end up. Like obviously, Brian, is having read the comics, you know how season 1 of Umbrella Academy ends. You don't quite know how they're going to get there because you haven't watched it yet. But when someone who hasn't read the comics, watched it, like I started to figure it out around the time they wanted you to, but I still didn't see where it was going until it hit the end point, and I was kind of blown away by that. And so, like, any show that does that kind of stuff, I'm immediately interested in. So you saying that they don't go for the obvious dramatic shifts and that they do some surprising things makes me really excited to watch it.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
And so, with that, if you had to review Motherland Fort Salem in just 3 words without using Motherland, Fort, or Salem.
Sorry.
Sorry, those are persona non grata.
You have so many other words, though.
So many other words. How would you review Motherland, Fort Salem in just 3 words?
Cheryl Lee Ralph is the president. Okay.
Yes, break the rules. I love it. Do it.
Let's see here.
And it doesn't have to be a sentence. We like to do that, but it doesn't have to be.
Also, our sharer of our 3-word reviews always puts periods between the words, and it ruins the grammar, Case. I know you're listening, Case Aiken. Ruins it. Love you, Case.
Let's see. Then I would say, for like, if I were telling my friends and I had 3 words, I would simply say unique magical tradition.
Nice.
Ooh,
I like that.
Like it.
Excellent.
I'm sold. Well, now I have more shows.
More shows
on my
to
list
watch.
of
So
shows.
many more
I'm
shows.
so sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
want to go play Fall Guys.
Fall Guys is a lot of fun and ridiculous.
It's very fun.
It's such a goofy game full of beans who fall over all the time.
Yeah. Which is a great way to segue into our discussion of Brian streaming.
Yes. Brian, aka Urban Bohemian. I'm so excited to have. You are our second streaming guest. Our first streaming guest
Oh, wow.
was the incredible Kelly Butler, otherwise known as the Opera Geek.
Oh, she's amazing.
She is so amazing.
Stupendous, I'd say.
And so we talked a little bit about streaming there, but what I would love to know from you, because I know you have a day job, but you do stream a lot and you have a very active community. I'm curious, what was your gateway to streaming? Like, obviously you're someone who likes video games and has played video games for a while, but like, what first got you interested in streaming and Twitch specifically? How did you get to that point? What brought you to starting to do that?
Well, as you mentioned, Tanya DePass, Cypher of Tier, she is a very good friend of mine. She runs a nonprofit, I Need Diverse Games, which is essentially exactly what it says. It's about kind of opening the field of gaming, which traditionally seems to be one gender identity and one ethnic identity.
Yes.
And let's kind of mess that up. But she floated the idea. She said, I think you'd enjoy streaming. And I said, okay, sure, let me try this. It was back when it was very easy to do from a console. You already had a headset. And I'll be honest, I hated it the first time.
Really?
It was awful. My internet connection was spotty. Twitch was not responding. It wasn't fun. And but I tried it more and more. And I have like a little bit of a theater background, so it was just kind of a way to get that creative spark and feel it again. And I got to, like, because I have a day job, I always say it was that time that I said, okay, I'm going to slate out this time to play games, and I don't have to worry about feeling bad about playing games, because I'm like, no, this is my scheduled game time. And then the rest of the time I do chores and other stuff.
That's awesome. And so, like, because I've seen you stream a ton of different games. Like, you've played Fall Guys on stream, you've played Dream Daddy, you've played Animal Crossing. Like,
Oh, good.
you have, I mean, you definitely have a thrill for the colorful stuff. We know that. But do you have a favorite kind of game to stream? I mean, I personally loved watching you play Arcade Spirits and Dream Daddy. I think because those games are just so great and ridiculous and fun. But do you have like a favorite genre or a favorite game to play on stream?
I think my favorite genre is probably the action RPG. So similar to Destiny or Assassin's Creed, but I like them that have, even if they only pretend to have a narrative, because part of my fun is also like, I like a good story, and a story will be the carrot for me continuing to grind in a game that is really all about like hours and hours spent. But if there's a good payoff at the end, or a new story, or a setting, I'd probably say Destiny is my favorite, because it is like a futuristic sci-fi setting with a little bit of blend of magic. They're not afraid to do light story notes and dark story notes, but anything with a good story, and especially streaming, because I also love to poke fun at narrative tropes and story tropes. And I was always addicted to TV tropes, because I grew up on TV, and somebody's like, wait, somebody put my thoughts on a website? This is fantastic. So I also love streaming, because we can basically people can watch this and we can talk back and forth. Like, do you see this ridiculousness? Or, we can talk about, why does the protagonist always have to do this? Or why is there always some kind of quest or story chain like this? So the narratives are fun. The visual novels are a recent fave, because it's a little bit weird knowing that for me, it's hard because I come to them from playing RPGs. So I'm thinking that my choices are making these massive sweeping decisions, and I kind of forget that the point is, who do I want to smooch?
Right. Of course.
And I'm like, well, my character wouldn't do that. That's ridiculous. And in one Arcade Spirit stream, I had one of the writers of the game who is basically making all these cryptic comments in chat, judging me harshly, because he's like, oh, you don't want to do that, or you don't want to talk to them. And it's like, oh, right, I forgot. I'm not supposed to be making sense. I'm just supposed to be getting a date.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I think for me as streaming, and Rachel's recently started streaming as well, I think.
I just started
Oh,
playing
yay.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. So
Wow.
there's a little bit of, well, I'm not playing. My partner and I are doing like a together stream. He
Okay.
does the buttons and then we do the voices together. Because me just talking to a camera, I couldn't. I have so much respect for streamers who like do it solo, because like I like get exhausted at certain points. I'm like, I don't know what to say.
It
Help.
it can be. I mean, well, like going back to that panel that you were on with Tanya when I first met you, one of the things that Tanya said that resonated with me, and I've repeated this at times, is I asked her, I got burned out on streaming. What if I don't want to play this game? And she looked me dead in the face and said, then don't. If you
Right.
have an audience, whether it's 200 people, 2,000 people, or 200,000 people, if they want to tune in to watch you, they will watch you. Just do what you want, because the minute you start going, well, they don't want me to do this, you'll burn out. And like, it was a light bulb that went off, and it's so obvious, but like, I didn't think of it that way, and it's changed all of that for me. And I love it. Also made me enjoy watching other streamers more, because I feel like sometimes I'm too quiet on stream, but then I watch tons of other streamers who just sit there and they don't say anything. They just play and like interact with the community when they say stuff, but otherwise kind of just focus on the game. And then there are other streamers who will stop their stream to have a conversation about something that came up, and I think all of it is so really cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most frustrating thing about streaming for you, or something that like you've come up against that frustrates you while streaming, besides the obvious dickery that's just part of the internet?
It's honestly too easy to say trolls and harassment. That's difficult. I would say like the most purely personal for me is not being able to now put enough time into it because of my schedule. Sometimes there are some games that I only play on stream, which means I may not make progress through those games because I'm only playing them on stream. And I'm recently having conversations about, is it okay to continue part of a game that you didn't stream? Or is it okay to switch between a lot of different games and space them out? So sometimes I feel like the completionist in me doesn't like that we don't just play something forever.
Yeah.
But also, to me, that's not interesting as a streamer, to just play the same game over and over again. And it's true. Like, people who come to watch would still come to watch.
Right.
But my thing is, if you're not having fun, don't stream. Like, if you're
Right.
not enjoying it and someone's not making you, or it's not your job, don't do it, because it will show, and you won't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And that'd be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that too, and that was part of like that, like more information I got from that panel. Like, I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition right now, and I love Dragon Age Inquisition, and I love the BioWare games, and I saw the video for Dragon Age 4, and yes, I cried, and yes, I want to romance the fiery-faced creature. I don't even know what it is or person. Like, I want him. Give him to me. I'm guessing it's a him. They. But that said, like, I haven't been able to stream for the last 3 weeks because I've been displaced, and like, I'm in a tiny hotel room with my partner. I'm not going to make her sit there quietly for hours and hours while I stream. Thankfully, we're going to be in a place soon where I'll be able to stream again. But like, I've been looking at that game because I have my PlayStation with me, and I'm like, should I play it even though I can't stream it? But I was streaming that progress, and I've hit that conflict. But I ultimately decided, well, I have so many other games to play, so to not play that one game because I'm playing it on stream, I think is fine. And like, I have tons of other stuff. And then after the new Batman trailer, I re-downloaded the Arkham trilogy, so I'm on that bullshit again.
Oh,
yeah. But that's a familiar struggle. I've met that, and it's actually why I really liked Fall Guys, which came out recently, is because that's not a narrative game. It's just, you go on, you have fun, you lose a lot, and then you turn off your stream. If you're me.
Yeah, then you
Pretty
get
much,
to, you
yeah.
get to wear a tutu. It's
Exactly.
great.
I've never
yeah.
I've never won a crown, by the way, in Fall Guys yet. I've played it a ton, and I've never gotten once.
I've only qualified to the second round, so don't worry.
In the actual game, I've come like second place, which is useless.
Right.
In the beta, I won crowns, and I'm like, wait, this shouldn't be hard. And then I was like, no, okay, all the professional Fall Guys players showed up now, so never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, to my very new streaming experience, picking a game that is one that is unfamiliar and deeply story-based, like, resonates with me a lot. And I love how picking a game to be the streaming game, this is the game that I stream, I miss it and I appreciate it more when it's time to play, because every week it's just like, is it Monday yet? Do I get to do this again? And I can understand that feeling of, even now, four streams in, just like, do I get to play again? Do I get to do my dumb voices? Like, yeah, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it, because that's 2.5 hours of your life every week that you could have back if you want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also appreciate, though, with your streams that you don't just play games. You sometimes bake on stream, and you sometimes
What?
Oh, that's right.
and so like was that like, for me, that seems like a setup that's a nightmare, just because I'm not a cook or a baker anyway. But like, what was that something you ever thought you would do? Is that something that you recently were just like, fuck it, why not? Let's try it. Like, how did you come to doing other things besides playing games?
I cannot remember if I did it. I think I may have done it first just because I wanted to, or I may have done it for a charity incentive. That's a big thing I do now. Is I do a lot of things for charity, but honestly, like my time on the internet, like I like an old school blogger. I was a foodie, therefore a food blogger. It has always been a thing of mine to say, could I have a cooking show? And then I'm like, wait, okay, I can bring 2 cameras into the kitchen and I can do this on Twitch. And I was more amazed at how people like tuned into how they like vibed to the cooking content. Like, there were all of a sudden like, you play a video game, you might have questions about the game, but everyone's usually watching a game. They just go Google it. When I was cooking, everybody was like, okay, well, what would you do with this? And how would you do this? And how would you turn this into a meal? And I'm just like, I am just trying to make chicken here. So I would like to do more of those, but, before all this, I tended to eat out a lot. Sure. Like, I would essentially go out, and like Sunday was my brunch day, and I would go somewhere different and share that food content on Twitter, not on Twitch. I feel weird about like being in public on Twitch, because I worry about that. But so being inside, I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm just going to cook all the time. And then, yeah, so we did some like cooking, I did some baking, and it's just fun. People come, and I think they come to that because I end up talking. That's when they get to hear like the stories, as opposed to me staring at a game. They're like, oh no, he's just going to talk about whatever. So we're obviously going to tune in for this. And I never watch those VODs again. I can't, because I can't.
Yeah, I get that. I like, even as someone who edits some of his own podcasts, like, I can't casually listen to my own shows anymore. I used to a little, just to hear them, but now it's like, nope. I assume it's good because either the editor, like Rachel, will do a great job, or I've edited it and it's done. Like,
I don't listen to this either.
Excellent.
It's
I take copious notes about edit points so I can find them.
Something I'm curious about, if you don't mind talking about it, is how you came to your username. I feel like for Twitch streamers, usernames are super important. Mine, DJ Stormageddon, is because I used to, when we went outside, be an actual DJ. And I'm a Doctor Who fan who hung out with burlesque denizens of burlesque, and a producer in the scene was like, this baby was named Stormageddon. Your actual last name is Storm. You're now Stormageddon. And so it stuck. And so I became Stormageddon.
There you go. Nice.
And so that's where my username came from. I'm curious where Urban Bohemian comes from.
It predates the internet. Not quite. But I think like it definitely goes back to America Online. Not the performer America, AOL at America Online. Not that.
Who is
amazing.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Followed me on Twitch very recently,
She's
and
a delight.
Excellent.
I never felt so cool in my whole life.
But I think it was a friend of mine. We were like on AOL. You were just going through usernames, and a friend of mine who lives in Rhode Island was talking, and essentially we were chatting online. And I was talking about the stuff I do, which I think people found unexpected, because like I more like of a kitchen witch, and also crafty, and I would talk about like, oh well, like in Florida our coven did this, and like he's like, wait, what? you live in the city now, and you're just telling me that you're making candles in your kitchen? And I'm like, well, Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah, you heat up some
Um,
water, get your
and
oils ready,
so
put on your crown, do the thing.
yeah, so he kind of mixed like the urban and you know, and sort of like boho, like bohemian, like the kind of, you know, not like the region, but the like that kind of chic thing, and those sort of just came together, like urban bohemian. And I'm like, okay, and even then I'm like, that's a mouthful, but it sounds kind of cool. So naturally, you immediately go out and reserve everything with that name on
Right,
it.
Yes.
obviously.
And
Agreed.
if I cannot get that name on a platform, I may not be on that platform.
That's amazing.
It's the worst. It's like, yeah, no, I am very I'm very sensitive about that. I haven't gotten back to Final Fantasy because they won't let me have my username. So there you go.
Bastards.
There you go, Square Enix. You should deal with that. But yeah, so that's sort of how it came together. It essentially was just kind of that city dwelling, craftsy folks, like, you know, like I would have been fine to do a Julia Child or a Martha Stewart type show from my apartment in the middle of the city and put pastels and gingham on everything and do that. Like that would have been fine. And yeah, it also just, it sounds interesting. People like it's one of those things when you kind of get that name and people say it and you're like, you can tell that they're saying it to themselves and they have that whole like, oh, okay, yeah, that's, so I was like, yeah, okay, this is going to stick. This is going to be the one that sticks.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like when usernames have a history, or like gamer tags have a history. I feel like it's because you never know what those stories are, and it could be so vastly different for each person. I'm friends with America Online at AOL.com, who did an episode of one of my other podcasts recently talking about Elder Scrolls Morrowind, and like I asked her about her, because she's a burlesque performer and we both worked in similar scenes. I asked her, like, did AOL ever come after you for that? Like, that name is so unique. And she's like, they did, until I spelled out at AOL.com, and then I made the email address and used that. They can't come after me because it's an email address in their system. So technically, I have the right to use it when it has the @ symbol, as opposed to spelling it out. And I was like,
That's amazing.
Very cool.
If I may
Yes.
ask a fellow magical entity, especially being in a cityscape, I've sort of only started, you know, my craft in city dwellings, and there's so much about connecting with nature in the work, in what you're doing. What have you found to be your touchstones for nature in such a concrete area? You know, I've been looking at references. I'm not too far from a graveyard, so that's a wonderful place to like go, like feel connected with like the ancestors, the spirits. But what have you found respite in this modern area, trying to connect with like the nature, the roots, the spirits of the land?
Well, I live in Washington, D.C., which has a surprisingly large amount of green space.
Yes.
You know, it's very odd. Like, if you look for national parkland, you will find that sometimes just the little triangle of grass on a street corner, that's an actual national park.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you take alcohol onto that one blade of grass, that's a felony. But I'm near Rock Creek Park, and that's usually where I would end up doing like my weekend exercise and walks. And you're not quite in the woods. There's like a hiker's path, and there are some blazed trails through there, but there are actual natural trails, and that is often where you kind of I was never an exercise person, so I didn't understand like getting into that zone of like, not really a runner's high or whatever, but like just that moment where I'm like, you know, you've got your pace and you're moving quickly and you're just kind of surrounded, and like, you know, you're walking by a riverbed and there's trees everywhere. And there was one morning, like just after sunrise, because I usually start at sunrise, when all of a sudden I just saw like 3 sets of glowing eyes in front of me, and I'm like, oh crap, it's deer. I'm gonna move out of their way now. Because yeah, there are tons and tons of there's tons of wildlife in that Rock Creek Park, and it's near the zoo. So there are often times when you'll hear the animals in the zoo. So that's really where I kind of get my natural my natural thing. And I try to do more, like I have an outdoor space with my apartment. I tried growing a garden, but this summer has been kind of brutal, so that didn't really work out. But it's difficult to get that connection, and that's why I think in my last places that I've lived, I've always tried to have some kind of greenery or some kind of plant inside to help focus on. But in general, I try to find where can I go and where can I carve out that time for myself and go be around that. And usually it's finding like the nearest national park land for me. Or, we also have there are like a lot of kept gardens. We have some lovely manors that have like gardens in DC. They're small, like relatively for like the United States. But you can also get completely lost in them.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of ways to kind of find that touch, to kind of get that touchstone and kind of feel that energy, even though you're in the city.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like living in New York sometimes I forget that there's green space all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you take a walk.
That's fair.
And one of the things to help us cope with being in the hotel that we're in is we took a walk down by Dumbo. We're near there in Brooklyn, and there's like a beautiful lake and like a little cove, and there was a woman playing fetch with her dog who was jumping in the water and then coming out and shaking off, and it revitalized us. And of course, we're all masked and wearing masks, and a lot of folks in the area, thank God, are wearing masks. But it gave me this kind of rejuvenation that I forget I need from the actual sun of the earth. It's very. I realized this past winter when it was very gray all the time that I'm solar powered. The longer it's gray outside, the crappier I feel all the time. And I'd never felt that kind of real connection to that until very recently, and realized, I need sunlight, I'm out in the sunlight to function. And I think as I get older, that becomes more and more, I just feel more connected. We're so excited we're finally getting some long-term housing, and it has an outdoor space in the back in New York.
So jealous.
And so, I'm so excited to just, something as simple and as ridiculous as take my Nintendo Switch and sit on a chair in a backyard and play it would be so rejuvenating to me as a gamer in a way that, you can't get from sitting on a balcony in the same way if you're sitting in a garden. And so I'm excited for that.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's great.
Go meet all those plants and become their friends and form anarchist mutual aid relationships with them.
Exactly.
It's good.
Obviously.
It's good to do. Get to know them. They have personalities.
They do.
They probably all want to be your friend.
I mean, I think so. My spouse has.
I mean,
more
it's
green
it's
thumb
still
than I do.
it's still New York though, so probably not all of them.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
One of them's got a bad attitude and probably hates me and talks about me behind my back.
One of them's just an old crotchety fern that's just ugh, another meat sack.
Before we start to wrap up, Brian, I did want to ask, since you are an avid gamer and you are a streamer, is there a game that you really love right now that you're playing, even if you're not streaming it? Do you have a favorite game that you're playing right now? Besides Destiny, which you said was one of your favorite to stream, is there something new or something recent that you got into that you're really loving?
That is actually, well, there's one that I have been rather hooked on. It's called Banners of Ruin. And I have it it's in early access right now. So the developer is constantly making quality of life updates, which is very fun to play a game where something that was completely wildly broken the last time you picked it up all of a sudden seems fixed. And it's oh my gosh, this is amazing. But it is it's sort of a card building, deck building, dungeon crawler,
Cool.
turn-based combat. And it's fascinating. All the characters are, it's kind of medium level fantasy, like Games of Thrones level fantasy, except all the characters are animals, anthropomorphic. They're all wearing different types of armor. They use weapons. And essentially, it's just you're traversing streets and different encounters happen. But mainly, it's you are collecting cards as your resources that can perform different types of attacks or effects on the enemy, and you're trying to survive. And the best part is the game tells you you're not going to survive this. Don't feel bad if you don't make it all the way to the end of this level. It's okay. Just start over again. It tells you that from the start, which is great because you don't feel as bad when you basically get your ass handed to you.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. And you said it's in early access.
really
Is it on Steam?
Yeah, it's currently on Steam.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
you.
We do have one more final question for you, which is a surprise. But before we get to that, we're going to wrap up. So, Rachel, if you would like to help me do some thank yous.
Oh, yes. I have so much gratitude to give. First and foremost, thank you to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Remble.
Also, thank you to the incredible Katie Bug, who created our incredible podcast artwork that we use as our logo.
It's incredible. There, we said it 3 times. I hope the incredible demon appears. And thank you so much to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for continuing to put up with us and all of our garbage, especially mine. We have a Discord with the Certain POV Podcast Network and tons of shows over there. In fact, can I say that we got a new one?
Yeah,
Is it time?
yeah.
Cool. We got a brand new podcast to join us in our buffoonery. It is called Judging Book Covers, and it is a book podcast. Finally, we got some class at the Certain POV.
I mean, let's not insult our other book podcast that's already here about the Circle of Magic books called
Right,
Circle of
that
Friendship.
one's there too. Right. Forgot.
Yes, thank you.
I'm bad at this. I quit.
Wow, this is special.
Seriously, though, go to certainpov.com. You can find all of our
Yeah.
podcasts there, as well as a permanent invite link to our Discord server. Also, if you feel like it, we'd love a rate, a like, a subscribe, a share, or a retweet for the podcast. It helps us to continue to grow our incredible audience. We love
true.
all of our listeners. Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
But
thank
now,
you.
before...
and feel free to shame me by just writing down all of the titles of all of those Certain Point of View podcast shows that exist, and just tweet them at me, and just be like, Rachel, it's these. It's fine. You got this. Write it down, you dingus. I deserve it. I'm a dingus.
You're a dingus, but I love you.
Sorry,
All right, before we
everyone.
close out this show, Rachel, please ask our illustrious guest our final
will.
question.
I'm excited to ask you this question because you've already stated an interest in the idea of it. So I don't feel like I have to really explain a trope to you because you get it for sure. But my question for you, Brian, is if you could magically, instantly, magnanimously make any trope true in your life, just right now, and then it's yours. What trope would you choose?
Star Trek replicators.
Yes.
Magically making a thing out of nothing, free energy, but only for some weird limited specific purpose to make food and things. Yes.
Excellent. On target. Well done.
Very
That
good.
is a great answer. Brian, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been an absolute delight. It's been a pleasure
Yeah.
having you
Oh,
on.
thank you. This has been fun.
You are welcome back anytime. Please go check out Brian. Before we close the show, why don't you tell folks where they can find you on the internet, on Twitter, on your stream, all of those good places.
Sure thing. It is Urban Bohemian on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, probably MySpace too. Is MySpace still around?
Yes, it is.
Technically, yes.
Oh, and what was that one short-lived that was going to try and take out Twitter and is gone now?
I know. It,
Not
Vero.
Halo. What is
Wasn't
it?
it
Oh,
Vero?
goodness. No. Oh goodness. It was one of the, anyway. If it existed, I went ahead and grabbed my username on there. But I am Urban Bohemian everywhere. I stream 3 times a week, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And on Saturday afternoons, I am in a live play D&D show that takes place inside Animal Crossing called Dungeon Crossing,
yes.
which I get to do with my friend Tanya and Gary Whitta, who wrote the Book of Eli and was a writer on Rogue One, and Adam Nickerson and Shannon Woodward of like Westworld, and who played Dina in The Last of Us. And I do not know what my life is that I get to do this awesome
That's
stuff with these amazing people, but we have a lot of fun. But yeah, mostly you can just catch me online.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Brian.
Thank
This
you,
was a
Brian.
blast. I also want to thank my incredible, gorgeous, talented, and stunning
Dang,
co-host.
You dropping them Incredibles.
I
like,
am, left and
what is,
right.
What is this, a Disney Pixar? Dang. So many Incredibles.
Wow. Oh, I just got that. Wow, that's bad. And I love you, but that's bad.
I love you too. Thank you so much to my transcendent co-host, Matt, aka DJ Stormageddon.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for suffering through us one more time.
But enjoying every moment with our guest and then suffering the two fools of us.
Exactly. we're the really like ugly plate that presents the delicious dish.
Exactly.
You know?
Poor Brian's so confused.
I just can't with that. I can't. That also makes me think of a tangent, but I can't go off on the tangent because you're winding down.
But thank you, everybody, for listening. We love all of you. And as always, we will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
Did you know Rob Thomas has been writing since the mid-90s?
The Matchbox 20 guy?
No, the guy behind Veronica Mars.
Oh, and iZombie.
And Cupid, Party Down, the Cupid reboot.
I haven't seen those.
Me neither, but we should watch them and then talk about them on our podcast.
Yes. We could call it the Rob Thomas.
No, not that one.
Robcast.
Every other Tuesday with Alex and MJ.
Find us at notthatrobcast.libsyn.com or wherever you download podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.